Good afternoon. Telstra has again been forced to apologise to Australians for its nationwide outage, revealing more than 600 callers were unable to get through to 000. Let's go live to Josh Martin in Canberra, who's following the fallout. Josh, the telco says it's put a fix in place.
Hugh, Telstra maintains this is all being caused by a software defect. It started at 4:30 yesterday morning. A solution has now been implemented, but it's the phone network outage that stopped the nation. The effects were still being felt this morning. Buses replacing luxury trains in Adelaide, plus Victoria's V-Line regional network was still down. This afternoon, we received an update from the telco's Chief Financial Officer, Michael Ackland, forced to take questions again with CEO Vicky Brady now flying home from an overseas family holiday. In total, 639 welfare checks were conducted by text, calls and police. 7 callers advised they needed assistance with their details passed on to emergency services.
Any one call is unacceptable, one missed call. I would say it's a complex system. I think it's robust. There is a lot of redundancy, but this was an unfortunate incident.
Hugh, the outage affected thousands of commuters and small businesses like cafes, with payment systems going down. Telstra is looking at compensation, but there's pressure ramping up from consumer groups. The communications watchdog is also investigating and does have the power to issue big fines, more than $30 million.
People need to be able to connect in an emergency when they most need it. That is the number one driver of trust in the system.
More could have been done by Telstra. I believe that some bad practices and some bad decision making made the matter worse as the day went along.
Hugh, a Liberal senator from South Australia has claimed that there was one death from the 000 outage, but both Telstra and local police at the moment say they have no evidence of that.
Josh Martin in Canberra, thank you. 13 Australian men suspected of being ISIS fighters could be freed from jail in Iraq if they're deemed non-combatants. Repatriation efforts have been ruled out by the federal government, but they could still face prosecution.
Unfortunately, those recent ISIS brides that were returned to you, they are setting the precedent moving forward. And one of the biggest challenges that there is trying to get the sufficient evidence of these individuals and the evil actions they carried out when they were part of the Islamic State Caliphate in Syria and Iraq.
A number of Americans deemed non-combatants have been freed under the process. A raid on a suspected criminal safe house in Sydney's southwest has led to a string of arrests. Detectives say it's the latest strike in their crackdown on a series of public place shootings. Andrew Denny reports.
Well, good afternoon. Police have now revealed they've charged 11 people following a raid here on a home at Punchbowl earlier this week. Inside what officers allege is a safe house, they say they uncovered 5 high-powered semi-automatic weapons, cash, hundreds of rounds of ammunition, $40,000 worth of drugs and 53 mobile phones.
You've got 5 high-powered weapons that are taken off the streets. We've seen in social media and posts and previous arrests the damage that they can do.
Officers from Task Force Falcon moved in on the home on Tuesday. It followed a 3-month investigation into 3 separate shootings that took place in the Illawarra, Punchbowl and Greenacre. At least 2 of those targets thought to be cases of mistaken identity. Some of those arrested this week suspected of being facilitators.
It would appear they are providing the weapons, which makes them just as complicit in these offences. You're letting these firearms be used by people to commit serious offences, including murder.
Police are now going through the mountain of data contained on those 53 mobile phones, looking for any potential links to drug supply, along with other crimes of violence that have taken place across Sydney.
One of Australia's most wanted fugitives, James Delamangas, is set to be freed from detention in Greece. Authorities releasing him on strict conditions just weeks after a Greek court blocked his extradition to Australia to face murder charges. The 56-year-old has spent decades on the run over the alleged fatal stabbing of George Giannopoulos outside a Sydney nightclub in 1999. The Blues have arrived home victorious. Among the proud players, captain Isaiah Yeo and the man they're calling the greatest player in the world, Nathan Cleary. The 30-12 victory sealing this year's State of Origin series. Andrew McKinlay has the latest from Sydney Airport.
Well, after pulling off one of the biggest heists in State of Origin history, the Blues have begun arriving back home. Nathan Cleary, the Wally Lewis medalist for Best Player in the Series, convinced he's come close to producing the perfect game of football.
In terms of that circumstance and the celebrations after and getting to enjoy a moment like that, probably. So yeah, it's definitely one I'll remember for the rest of my life.